Okay, in this session, I want to talk to you about mindset matters. Because you see, in the power of five, we're talking about five essential things that if you do them well with excellence in network marketing, you're going to be very successful. And we've talked about that growth matters, and our development of ourselves is so essential for us to get to where we want to be and do what we want to be able to accomplish. And so that's very important. Then connecting matters, and how that relationally we're only as good and strong as our ability to really connect well with people. But if you're going to be successful, mindset matters also. And so let's really talk about this for a moment. Again, let me go back to the growth program that my father put me on when he paid me an allowance to read books. One of the first books that I read was Norman Vincent Peale's book, The Power of Positive Thinking. Wow. That was the first book on mindset that I read. Now, my father backed that up. When I was in the 8th grade, he took me to Columbus, Ohio, and Norman Vincent Peale was speaking. And my father was mentored by him, long distance. And so I met Norman Vincent Peale after he spoke there at Veterans Memorial Auditorium in Columbus, Ohio. I met him, and he spoke into my life, and it was pretty wonderful, pretty life-changing. And the reason that mindset matters is, in fact, let me put it this way. If you sat at the table with me, we were one-on-one, and you shared with me, John, for me to be highly successful in life, and you could only give me one thing, what's the one thing you give me? I would talk to you about your mindset. I really would. It's the greatest gap between successful and unsuccessful people is how they think. That's a fact. It has nothing to do with intelligence, has nothing to do with IQ. I'm not saying successful people are smarter than other people. I'm just saying successful people think differently. They have a different mindset. And my father was so committed. He was so committed to helping us think correctly. And he knew that he could really help that by creating the right kind of environment for the three of us as his children to think well. That literally, by the time I got ready to write my first book, that my first book was entitled, Think on These Things. And I was so excited because I wanted to write a book to help people think right. And so that was written clear back in 1979. And I had 31 chapters, okay? 31 chapters. The book's still in print, by the way. Think on These Things, still in print. And it kind of amazes me that it's still in print. It was my first book. And it wasn't that good because you're never good the first time. Are you okay? But it's okay. It's nothing wrong. You got to do it first time so you get to a second time. You with me? And no one ever went to a second time until they did the first one. So you got to get started. You got to get on that starting line. And so I had a lady come up to me with the book, because it's still in print recently, and she wanted me to sign it for me. I said, well, you know, that's my first book I ever wrote. She said, oh, I know it. She said, I love this book. I just love this book. And I thought, oh, that's a little unusual. So I said, you love the book? She said, I love the book. I said, well, what do you love about it? Oh, she said, the short chapters. I love the short chapters. She said, oh my gosh. She said, where did you ever think of, what made you think of writing short chapters? I said, lady, it was my first book. I had nothing else to say. And by the way, it's 31 chapters and the book's only 100 pages. So it's like 3 pages a chapter. Are you with me? And some of those chapters were 2 pages too long. I literally, it took me a whole year. It took me a whole year to write the book. I remember one day I was in a hotel in Indiana, and I wrote all day long, and I only got about 3 paragraphs done the whole day. And so I tell you that story because when people look at me today, you know, 32 million books sold and all the stuff that's happened, they look at me and they say, my gosh, John, you must be amazing. And I said, no, there wasn't much amazing in the beginning. It was hard work. And it wasn't easy, and I didn't do it really well. One of my greatest regrets is that people see me now. I wish you could have seen me when I started. you would be so encouraged. Yeah, I'm just serious. You would, if you just saw me when I started, you would re-enter this race so quick. You'd just say, oh my gosh, there's hope for me. Because the problem is you're seeing me on the back end and you think I'm better than I really am. But on the front end, people thought I was worse than I really was. And that's the way this kind of works. But I'm here to tell you, as I look back at my journey, it was my mindset. It was how I thought. So if I could sit down at a table with you and give you the one thing I would give you is I would say, you've got to have the right type of thinking for you to get to where you want to go. And so let me just give you a couple thoughts on mindset. Number one is the right mindset creates a foundation for good results. As a person thinks within themselves, so they become. And good thoughts and actions usually produce good results. And it's true that all is well that begins well. And if you don't believe that all is well that begins well, we hear all the time, all is well that ends well. But I'm telling you, no, you got to start well. And that beginning is very essential. And if you don't think starting well, thinking right on the front end is essential, just talk to a coach before his team goes out to play the game. And ask him if mindset matters. Talk to the surgeon who's about to operate on a patient and ask him, do you think that the mindset of that patient matters as they go into that surgery? Ask a teacher who's about to give a test to the students. Ask that teacher, do you think that the mindset that they have going into taking that test, do you think that's right? Ask a mentor that's just getting ready to develop a person, how important do you think it is to have that mindset? And so it creates the right foundation for good things to happen in your life. So it begins in the morning. And I'm going to just tell you how it begins with me. In the morning, I wake up, and I wake up with what I call self-thought. And I have two main self-thoughts every morning when I wake. And I've trained my mind this way. The first thing when I wake up in the morning, my first thought is gratefulness. I'm just so grateful I've got another day to make a difference in people's lives. And I've got another day to make my life count. And I've got another day to grow and improve myself. And so it begins with gratefulness, thankfulness, but then it turns into prayer. And if that was a word that makes you a little nervous, meditation. I know you pick your word, but it's where I begin to look at my day, and I begin to think about my day, and I begin to pray, and basically I ask God to help me, because I just found out that I do better when He helps me. Okay, I just do. I don't want that to alarm you, but I just do, okay? And you probably do good without Him, and so you're just amazing, but I'm not quite that good, and so I like Him to help me a little bit, and it just kind of works a little bit better. So it starts off with, now watch this, it starts off with self-thought, gratefulness, prayer. But then it goes on. I go to self-focus. Okay, let's think about this day, John. Who's on your calendar today? What are you going to do? Who are you going to be with? And I began to go through my calendar, and the reason I go through my calendar is because I know that I have to be good at certain parts of that day. What I've shared with you very briefly, but I didn't pull out at all, is that you cannot give 100% all day. You don't have that capacity. But if you do have that capacity, talk to me. I want you to tell me how to have 100%, because I can't do 100% all day. So I got to figure out, not am I going to give it all day, but when am I going to give it 100%? Yeah. I have to pick my spots. Does that make sense to you? Yeah. I have to pick my spots. Right now is 100% time. I've got to be all in. I've got to be in the game right now. I've got to be 100%. I can't be off. It isn't going to be good to, it's not going to work if I go back and say, well, I was just about half there. Nobody's wanting you to be half there when you got to be 100% there. So I began to focus on where do I have to give it that 100%. And okay, who am I going to give that 100% to? When am I going to give that 100%? Why am I giving? And so I do that focus. People, events, that kind of stuff. You with me? Yes. Then I go to self-talk. Now listen to me carefully. You don't talk to yourself enough. You think to yourself, but you don't talk to yourself. Thinking to yourself is important. Talking to yourself is even more important. There is something about hearing you say it that makes it more definite in your life. I'm a long time proponent of if it's worthy of pursuit, it's worthy of declaration. That you have to declare it, and you have to say it, and you have to hear. And by the way, the most important person that you're going to hear talk all day is yourself. Because the words that you're saying to yourself are going to determine who you are and what you're going to become. And so I talk to myself. I give myself a pep talk. It's one that I said, boy, John, you're going to spend a whole day talking to people that are very important, who have really given up a lot to even be here with you today. And so, John, let's get good. Let's get good. Well, okay, John, where are we going to get good? Okay, well, I started going down through the Power of Five. Okay, now, and every time, we're going to talk about growth matters. And okay, I'm going to really be good on growth, and I'm going to make sure that they understand that you want to become a better you. And I'm going through that. And I'm just talking to myself. I mean, if you came in the room, you'd say, John, what are you doing? Well, I'm talking to myself. I talk to myself all the time. And I try not only to talk to myself, I try to listen to myself. It even gets better when you do that. And so then I go through the second one. We're going to talk about how to connect and right now. And what's beautiful is when I'm talking to myself and what we're going to happen, what happens really is beautiful is that every time I'm wherever I am, like now I'm talking to you, wow, let's talk about mindset matters. And every time I'll say, oh, this will be the best one yet. This will be the best. This is going to be so good. When I was a pastor, I would go around. I would talk to myself, and then I'd go around and talk to everybody on my staff, and I'd say, Sunday I'm preaching the best message I've ever preached. And I can hardly wait to hear me. I mean, it's just, I can hardly wait. This is so important. This is so life-changing. This is going to make such a difference in my life. And the whole staff, it was just a big joke. It's about time for John to come around and tell us how great the sermon's going to be. Can I tell you something? If you don't think it's going to be any great, don't speak. If you think you're going to be bad, keep it to yourself. Don't inflict the rest of us. I don't particularly want to hear you be bad. You with me? If you're going to have an off day, have it alone. Don't invite me. I mean, nobody ever got great pleasure saying, man, I had an incredible day. I spent a day with somebody who had an off day. No, you want to be on. So what you do is when you hear yourself say those words, it carries much more weight than if you just think them. Okay, talking about mindset, talking about how to start your day. Now, it's not only the foundation. Secondly, it increases your potential. Again, one of the books I read in the 7th grade, William James said, the greatest discovery of our generation is that human beings can alter their lives by altering their state of mind. In other words, your potential is determined by your mindset. Average people only see their point of view. Successful people see the big picture. Average people go in too many directions. Successful people focus on the main thing. Average people are stuck in the box. Successful people, they explore options, they innovate, they get out of the box. In fact, they ask themselves, why do you have a box? Average people hope for the best. Successful people face the facts and build on them. Average people let life happen to them. Successful people, they proactively say, no, I'm going to be intentional in my life. Average people allow their circumstances to limit them, and successful people, they see possibilities everywhere. Average people, they don't learn from their mistakes. Successful people, they reflect, they think, they get value out of their mistakes. Wow, it just doesn't stop. And here's where I'm going with this. Well, let me give you a story. John Wooden, who I had the privilege of having him mentor me in the last dozen years of his life, great coach, great teacher, great philosopher, great thinker. He said, John, I never pick my captain at the beginning of the year. Now, this is huge. He said, I never pick. He said, I don't the first year say, okay, you're going to be the captain of the team. He said, I look at my team and I said, I want to watch you play for about a half a dozen games before I pick the captain. He said, I want to see who shows up. He said, I want to see who wants the ball in crunch time and who wants to pass the ball to someone else. He said, that's why I said, I tell my players all the time, don't tell me what you're going to do, show me what you're going to do. And he said, the mindset of my players will be determined by not what they say, but it'll be determined by what they do. And so that right mindset, it determines your potential. And to have the right mindset, here's the most important part of all of it, you have to be intentional. You have to be intentional to have the right mindset. You don't automatically get a good mindset. It's a choice, and you have to be intentional on it. And I'm going to give you some examples right now, very quickly, in wrapping this up, of my mindset. I'm just going to give you phrases that this is just how I think. This is who I am. This is how my mind is set on life. For example, one phrase that it's a mindset of mine, is a phrase that I use all the time. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. I can remember many, many years ago, before any of you were even born, when McDonald's started. I remember going to McDonald's and asking for a Diet Coke. They didn't have Diet Coke back then. When I asked the little girl for a Diet Coke, she said, I'm so sorry. She said, she's looking on her cash register, and she doesn't have a place to push Diet Coke. She said, well, I'm so sorry. I don't think we can do that. And so I said, okay, I'll tell you what I need. I need a cup with a glass of ice. I thought I'll go down to a convenience store and get a Diet Coke. And so then now she's looking back at her cash register, and she's really in trouble because she doesn't have any place to punch cup of ice. And she said, well, I don't think we can do that. And I smiled and I said, oh, yes, you can. I'll never forget, she said, okay. And she went and got me the cup of ice. And now, as I walked out of McDonald's, I thought, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to be a yes, you can person my entire life. I'm going to I'm just going to believe that it's possible. Now, you don't have to believe that. You can say, well, John, I think that's just a little delusional. That's okay. That's your choice. It's all right. Just don't bother me, okay? As I go doing things that you think are impossible, don't bother me, okay? Another one is, there's another mind, I believe that there's always an answer. I believe there's always an answer. In fact, I would encourage you, I'm giving you examples of my mindset, and I'm just giving you a couple of more, but I want to encourage you, you need to go and put phrases on your mindset. I believe there's always, and you say, John, what do you mean you believe that there's always an answer? What I believe is there's always an answer. And I never accept somebody coming back without an answer. Are you all right out there? Yes. It's a mindset. It's how you think. My first assistant, Barbara Brummingen, I'll never forget, I'm talking about 1981. I asked her for a phone number, and she came in about 5 minutes later, and she said, Pastor, she said, I'm sorry, I can't get that number. I said, well, that's okay. Just pull a chair up and sit beside me. So she pulled up a chair and sat beside me, and I said, since you can't do it, you just sit here and watch me do it. 45 minutes later, I had the phone number. I wrote it down, handed it to her, told her to go back in the office, come back in, and give me the phone number. And she did. And she said, John, my life was forever changed that day. Just because you haven't figured it out doesn't mean it can't be figured out. I believe there's always an answer. I believe that there's more than enough for everybody. I just do. I don't have a scarcity mindset at all. I have an abundance mindset. And I just think that there's more than enough for everybody. And so therefore I don't have to be competitive. I don't have to fight over my little small share like it's the only piece of the pie, and if I don't get it, I'm not going to get any of that pie. I don't believe that at all. I believe that you can take something I have, and I can bless you, and I can go out and get another one. Yes. In fact, I'll go back in the bakery, and I'll bake my own pie. You with me? I'll just go bake that sucker. Honest to God. So if you come over and you get something that was mine, that doesn't make me feel competitive, doesn't even make me feel jealous. I just look over and say, well, if it blesses you, go have it. You can have that. I'll just go get more. I have literally in business deals given millions of dollars away. I've let millions of dollars stay on the table. Just let it stay right there. Because I can see that greed and jealousy and pettiness and all that kind of stuff that enters into business relationships, and I just smile and say, oh my gosh, if that means so much to you, you can have that. That's right. I just happen to believe there's some more over here, and I'll just go get some more. This is all thinking. I believe that sowing is more important than reaping. This is mindset stuff, folks. So every day I sow. I don't try about reaping. I don't even work on reaping. Now, I reap huge. But see, I know something. You can't reap until you sow. True. And so every day, I don't go out every day and say, I wonder what I'm going to get today. I go out and say, I wonder what I can give. I wonder what I can sow, what I can deposit. Because it's all going to come. These are our mindsets. My gosh, I believe opportunity is everywhere. I believe opportunity is everywhere. I believe there's not much difference between success and failure, and that most people that are experiencing failure can experience success by just doing a couple of simple things. They're not that far from success. And I believe successful people aren't that far from failure. I don't think there's a big barrier. I don't think there's a big gap. Now, I'm going to stop there because I got to get on to other lessons, but this is just very simple. Mindset matters, folks. Mindset. Now, I did this last part because I wanted you to have tangible stuff. So now, what I encourage you go start writing down the phrases that best represent the way you think in life. Because I'm here to tell you, whatever those phrases are, those are the things you're going to say, and those are the things that you're going to live. So trust me, mindset matters. Thank you very much.